This is not the United States of Patrick Bet-David. This is the United States of America.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see specialists?
I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
But would you also be open to seeing somebody else I choose as a psychologist that may...
No.
You're not?
No.
When you're offering people here jobs, right? You're saying that they would have to pay you money to get that. So in reality, you're trying to convince them to pay you money to be part of your company.
Claims of defaming. Be very careful defaming when you don't know the fact. I'm Patrick Bet-David. I'm an entrepreneur and founder of PBD Podcast. Today, I'm surrounded by 20 anti-capitalists. My first claim is incentive is the engine of capitalism. Remove it and the system fails.
Great to meet you, Patrick.
What's your name?
My name's Mason.
Mason, good to meet you.
Yeah. I'm value-tained. I'm a big fan of the channel.
Are you really?
Yeah, I do watch it quite regularly.
Very cool.
I do not agree with your claim. I don't think that incentives are only born out of capitalism.
Okay.
Most capitalist defenders say that incentive is because of scarcity, and people's ability to get what is necessary pushes them to work harder. I disagree with that. I'd say that some of our hardest workers are single moms working 3 to 4 jobs, and the resources that they're able to acquire compared to those that utilize their workers in order to build profit for their own companies is not equivocal.
So how would you do it? How would you change it?
Yeah, so I think that humans inherently want to be meaningful. They want to contribute to their communities. They want to contribute to society. When you look at depression rates, oftentimes it's people who aren't able to do anything besides laying in their bed and basically barely taking care of themselves. So I think that it's just a human intrinsic value to want to bring value to their community or grander society.
Okay,
so I don't think that it has to be through scarcity alone that scares people into working, if that makes sense.
I worked for scarcity. I think there's levels to it. You have the survival folks who work for survival to pay their bills. Some work for status, some work for freedom, and some work for legacy. The folks that work 3 or 5 jobs, to pay their bills and do what they're doing, if the incentive wasn't there, they wouldn't work 3 to 5 jobs. Some of the guys that build a bigger business that solve a lot of problems.
The incentive there is either I die or I work. That's not really a system that rewards merit. That's a system that pushes people into insecure positions.
Not necessarily. In many cases, we put ourselves in situations as well. But when we're talking incentive...
Are you saying that it's an individual failure for these single mothers that are working 3 to 4 jobs?
For some of them, it is.
Interesting.
For some of them, it is.
I'm glad you bite that bullet, because most people are not going to say that it's a moral failure of people that are born into poverty that continue to live out cyclical poverty. Let me explain to you.
For somebody like me, I came from the single mother system. My mother was a single mother. We had, my parents got a divorce twice. They married each other. They divorced. They remarried each other, divorced again. I came up, we didn't have a lot of choices. I joined the Army, I got out of that system, kind of wanted to see what I was gonna do for myself. Do I stay in the Army? Do I get out of the Army? I started working in sales. And then the incentive of working harder, eventually I built a good life for myself.
Again, you're totally dismissing the hard work that a lot of these people are putting into for just basic survival. I'd say that mechanics and plumbers and most people working blue collar jobs that are probably watching this video are working tirelessly day after day.
I don't disagree.
They still feel insecure positions to where they don't even know if they're gonna be able to afford rent in the next 6 months.
So let me ask you,
if most Americans have a $400 to $500 emergency, they can't even afford that with the basic savings that they have. So this is not something that we should celebrate as promises of a system that gives you more if you work harder. We should say that this is something that rewards few, and I'm glad that you're an outlier that's been able to build a lot of success for yourself. I know that you're a multimillionaire. That's fantastic that you have those resources.
But
the thing is that cannot happen for everybody
in
society. It's possible for each individual to do it, but not everybody can be a millionaire.
So
that's guaranteed.
I don't think not everybody can be a billionaire or a millionaire, but I do think people can find ways to use their time to effectively increase their market value. And I don't think many people do that. When I talk to people and they tell me, I've watched this show, I've watched every one of these shows, I've watched every one of these Netflix shows, you can use that time to increase your market value instead of kind of, focus on what's going on with the stories and shows that are out there.
Let's move away from Netflix and TV shows and talk specifically about, do you think that capitalism is a system of merit that rewards people that are of higher merit?
I do.
Okay, so how would you say that this is a meritocracy when we have some people that are born into excessive wealth and some people that are working minimum wage jobs to provide for 3 or 4 kids? How would you say that that's a meritocratic society?
Those are 2 different things.
They are 2 different things, very unequal things.
Well, no, not necessarily. The parents get credit for making responsible decisions so they can take care of their kids. The parents
get credit. So it's not a meritocracy, though. We're building dynasties of wealth.
I didn't come from dynasties of wealth.
I know,
came from
you're an outlier. I get that. I get that individual, but we're talking about systems. Capitalism is a system. It's not an individual testimony.
But it's a system that you get to use in your advantage. It's a system that's produced the best results than any other economical system. There's not an economical system that's produced better results than this based on the incentive.
History is a march of progress, right? So there are going to be advancements that we make, or there's going to be solutions that we make to previous ailments. I'm not saying that capitalism hasn't brought in better things than systems like feudalism or monarchy, but that does not mean that we're at the end of history. Do you think that capitalism is the final solution, and this is what we're going to
I think capitalism is the best
future?
economical system because it gives an incentive for you to decide how big of a life you want to build. And by the way, the best way to judge it, let me just say this to you, the best way to judge it is in a very simple way. Take all the countries around the world. There's many different economical systems. What has the longest line of people wanting to get in there? It's America. Why is that? 15 million people came here illegally. Millions came here illegally just the last 4 years.
But a lot of that is because of economic scarcity in other countries. Well, one of them, we could talk about one, is American exceptionalism, which is continuing. Good to meet you.
Thank you. How are you? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Alana. It's nice to meet you. Okay, so I think the issue is the framing of incentive here. Incentive doesn't disappear in a socialist or a communist society. It just changes and evolves. So we see in capitalism the incentive is obviously monetary gain, maybe even collecting capital itself through land ownership. In a communist or a socialist country, you would see incentive would just evolve into, I know it's a vague term, but the common good. You have an incentive to do your chores around your house because you don't want to live in a filthy house, right? That makes sense. It doesn't have to be just monetary.
So you don't think monetary incentive drives people, or you're saying that people should be excited to do their job, whether they're getting incentivized for it or not? That's what you're saying.
People will be incentivized to do.
Give me a case study. Give me a case study of that worked. Give me one case study.
We don't even need to look at case studies. We can just look at charity work.
Well, why don't we actually look at a case study? You got two countries, North Korea, South Korea. One is communism and one is capitalism.
Yes.
North Korea's GDP last year was $23 billion.
Are we judging countries' values based off GDP
that's
and not
because
what
that's
they
a
value
job,
for
freedom of speech. You can't,
humans,
like, if you lived in North Korea, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing right now. You wouldn't have a voice. In South Korea, I'm gonna give you stats. In South Korea, their GDP is $1.7 trillion.
South Korea is also owned by like 5 companies in total in the entire
70
country.
times better
you think
than North
that's something
Korea.
to live by? If you are employed by the top 5 countries, you are practically unemployed in these countries.
Do you like to be free?
I'm not going to be free in a country like South Korea where I'm only employed in 5 companies or no job. Do you like to be free to call somebody out like me? Do you like to be free where you can have a strong opinion? Do you like to be free to have your dreams? I like to be free, but that's why I'm anti-capitalist.
Well, maybe you are
That
to
is why
North
I'm
Korea
anti-capitalist, because
or Cuba or
capitalism
Venezuela.
removes that choice. There is no real incentive of capitalism because the incentive is survival. When you get into communism, the incentive is for the common good.
I love that. I got an offer for you before we move on. If I were to give you your $2,350, which is the cost to renunciate your citizenship, and I paid you your first class, flight to whatever communist country, and $20,000 of spending money,
communist country.
Would you give up your citizenship to go to that country?
And
Whichever communist country you want to go to.
Yeah,
Cuba, we can give you Venezuela,
country.
we give you North Korea, any one of those you want to go to.
Communist countries, not
Choose any one of them. I'll give you a one-way ticket, and I'll fund it for you if you want to.
That's it.
Thank you. Yes. What's your name?
My name's Hunter. I'm going to be honest, I've never seen your videos before. Even though there is some real value to free enterprise, the profit motive often creates a perverse incentive and worse outcomes in certain situations. For example, healthcare. How much would you pay for a life-saving treatment for yourself or one of your family members?
How much would I pay for it?
Say you have cancer and you have an 80% survival rate with chemotherapy and less than 10% without it. How much would you pay? Whatever it takes, right?
Sure.
That's a situation of inelastic demand, when the amount that you're willing to pay is not based on the value of the service, because your life does not have a finite value. In the US, 66.5% of all bankruptcies are because of medical debt. In most other developed nations, that number is way lower, if not zero. And at the same time, the US does not have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. We pay over $13,000 per capita. Meanwhile, Taiwan, which by most metrics has the best healthcare system and a national healthcare service, only pays about $2,500 per capita per year.
So what does that tell you?
That tells
you what?
us-
That's wasted expenditure.
Yes, that is a massively wasted expenditure.
That tells you the government doesn't know how to spend our money.
No,
they keep
in our
raising
case,
taxes, we
we're
keep
spending-
more money, and they don't know how to spend the money.
No, most of that money is coming from private insurance. In fact, 77% of the people who went bankrupt from medical debt had insurance and then lost it because they couldn't pay.
So we can address that, the fact that 60-something% of bankruptcies are due to health, which is, you're right, we've done many content on that piece. I want you to come back to incentive. Address the issue with incentive right now, with capitalism.
The reason why the medical debt is so high in that is because of the profit motive. If people will pay whatever it takes
profit
to not
motive-
die, the profit motive in that case is perverse because healthcare shouldn't be a market in the same way that other things might be a market.
So you don't think the motive to have profit, to come out with a solution, is a good thing for the marketplace, specifically in the healthcare
I think it depends
side?
on which market you're talking about. It's way different. We're talking about video games or cell phones or TVs or other goods that aren't as necessary as
You're
healthcare
specific to
treatments.
healthcare.
Yes, I'm talking
Okay.
specifically about
So
healthcare
there's
in certain other markets
you
where
ever
there's
heard
a
of Home
natural...
Depot? You ever heard of Home Depot?
Yes, I'm aware.
So one of the guys who's the founders of Home Depot, investors of Home Depot, his name
Sure.
is Ken Langone. His father died at 62 years old. Ken Langone today is roughly 90 years old, give or take. When he died at 62 years old, he tells the story that if there was a simple thing as blood thinners, his father would have lived to be 90 years old just like he is today.
Yes, that makes
came
sense.
because of innovation, which he's been on for many years. My dad's been on blood thinners
Sure,
for the
but
last 40 years. So
I think
the
you're
incentive to create a
conflating
solution,
two things right now. Not
No, it's
all
about
innovation
incentive. It's
is
about
the result
incentive.
of the market, because many healthcare
Most is,
developments
though.
are created by research grants from healthcare funding, whether it's in the United States or in
over
other countries. In
2/3
most other first world countries,
Yeah.
the result of medical research developments, which are massively outpacing that in the U.S. now because of our inefficiency, because we have a market-based system for healthcare.
A very basic
most
question
of that
for you.
is because
a very basic
of
question for you.
non-market-based systems.
Basic question for you. If that's the case, it keeps going back to the same thing. If it's better in other places than it is here, why are Americans and others not going there? Why are people coming here? It's very basic.
How much does a plane ticket cost?
No, they have the money to go to different places. They don't, because they know America's the greatest country in the world. They know it.
Okay.
Appreciate
Nice
you.
to meet you, by the way.
Hey, I'm Luke.
Luke?
Yes,
Like the
Luke.
hat. Good to meet you.
Oh, thank you very much. Good to meet you too. So I think incentives are exactly the fundamental problem with capitalism. Is that you say incentives are what make it work, and I think that's the whole issue. Is that the primary incentives are either greed, amass as much personal wealth as you possibly can.
You think that's the problem? It's greed?
Yeah, exactly. And
Because you're not greedy at all.
And like you said, survival.
Yeah.
Right. So the person working 5 jobs, that they're doing that to they
Sure.
wouldn't want to do that if they didn't need to survive. But that's such a horrible dystopian world to live in. If someone has to work 5 jobs just to survive,
How did they get there? How much of that is on their decision making? How much of that is on their doing? How much of that is on the market where they're not finding ways to improve themselves?
it doesn't matter how much onus is on the individual. We want to create a world.
Of course it is.
No. See, we want to create a
onus
world
is on
in
you.
which people don't have to earn their right to
And
exist, to live.
We live in a country where majority of the world wants to come here. The most important citizenship country is America.
Right.
People give up their lives to come here. Have you ever lived in another country before?
No, not lived, no.
Why do you think so many want to come here?
I think the people coming here are coming from gang-ridden, corruption-ridden, violence-ridden.
You think that's just all it is? You think I came from a gang-ridden in Iran? I lived there 11 years.
I think the majority of certainly coming from South
Most
America.
people come here because what you're doing to me, you're sitting across from me right now.
Right.
Millions of people are going to watch this. In America, you can call me out. You can say whatever you want.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen.
Right.
You're free and safe here, right?
Sure. Freedom of speech has
You
nothing to do
can't
with
do that in
capitalism.
Iran. Of course it is. There's a lot of elements with America. You're talking incentive. The amount of benefits America offers against
Right.
other countries, it's so much higher, where somebody with big dreams, incentives,
Right.
they're willing to come and say, I want to come to America, please let me in. And
Right.
some come and take advantage of it. But to say the individual that's working 3 to 5 jobs, if you do that for a season, if you do that for 2 years, if you do that for 5 years, fine. If you do that for 20, 30 years, you're doing something wrong.
But the point is, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Those are the inalienable rights. We shouldn't have to earn those rights. We shouldn't have to earn the right to
You
health
do
care.
have to earn it.
Earn the right. No.
I
because
actually-
we just want to live, exist. We can't work our blood, sweat, and tears just to survive. That's
Yeah.
a horrible dystopian world that we live in right now.
No, then what do you think we're here for? To just sit around and play video games?
We're
What do you
here-
think we're here for? To
we're-
sit around and watch TV shows?
We're here
to
to
sit
create,
and watch cat
we're
videos?
Here, we
what
are
do you
here,
think we're put here
we
to
are
do?
here to create a prosperous community, to lift
How do you
everyone
create a
up.
prosperous community? How do you create a prosperous community? Matter of fact, for you, how have you positively impacted a community?
I guess volunteering, food banks,
Volunteering
Habitat for
food. I
Humanity.
appreciate you for doing that. Have you created jobs for others?
Created jobs? No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
Why
so.
have you not?
I haven't had the ability to do so.
Do you think it's easy or do you think it's hard?
To create jobs is probably hard, yeah.
It's okay, so the people that create jobs, you think they should have a little bit of incentive for having risked their life savings, spend time away their families to create jobs so somebody like you can work for that company?
Sure, but that
is
does not,
the incentive.
And bravo for them, but that does not give them the right to pay themselves $2 million bonuses while their workers are scraping by at like $10 an hour.
You don't get to choose how much money I choose to make. That's not your business. That's my business. If you have 4 girlfriends, and I have 1. Is it my business to tell you can't have 4 girlfriends?
I think
if you play 7 hours of Fortnite every day,
right,
and I don't play Fortnite at all, should I tell you you shouldn't be able to play 7 hours of Fortnite a day?
In my view.
Hey, appreciate you.
Absolutely.
How are you? What's your name?
Zena.
Zena.
Awesome. So this claim about incentive is one that we see often promoted by capitalism enjoyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's this idea that profit incentives is the only thing that can make humans do things, get up out of bed every day, which has never been the case historically. It's not the case psychologically.
Historically, it's never been the case?
No.
What has been the case?
So we've seen.
What's been the incentive?
The incentive is intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic motivation?
Of course. Have you ever heard of intrinsic motivation?
Of course I have. So you
Okay.
think people are going to go just do anything for no incentives?
The incentive is intrinsic, meaning passion, interest, and honing your skills.
Whether you get paid or not.
Well, the problem is that we're forcing people to, need to, work to survive.
So
in
what's
system.
the alternative? So give me another solution, another
May
economical
I finish
system.
the talking
Yeah,
point?
actually,
Right,
I'm
awesome.
curious.
So yeah, the psychological theory of self-determination is widely accepted in psychology. It basically explains that intrinsic motivation and passion is actually what predicts incentive. You're arguing that incentive is integral to profit-driven motivation. That's not true. Extrinsic motivation, at all times, at every single case, is going to, predict less creativity, less motivation, less skill, etc. Intrinsic motivation is what causes things like technological development. Some of the greatest breakthroughs have been from people who are devoted in honing their skill.
So should they get paid for it?
I think that we shouldn't live in a system that privately owns the means of production and forces people in this position.
What college did you go to?
USC.
You went to USC. What did you major in?
Sociology.
Sociology. Who's your hero as a professor? Who's the professor you look up to?
This doesn't seem like a topic that's related to capitalism.
Do you know why I asked this question? The reason why I asked this question is because somebody convinced you of that.
I don't
Somebody
think it's
convinced you that is
so
the way
psychology
that
and studies
produces-
convinced me of this fact about the human
but
mind.
unfortunately, to your claim, results show that the greatest
Results
economical
show that
system
intrinsic
is
motivation predicts more
capitalism
creativity
that allows
and more
people to go
profit
above and
than
beyond
anything
and
like
solve
extrinsic
every
motivation.
single issue out there. An entrepreneur who gets up, who says,
What was your
I'm
claim
gonna
again,
be-
mister?
I'm going to incentive.
Incentive.
The
What
entrepreneur
about
who has
incentive?
an incentive to go out there and build their lives, and you put
So
no
I'm saying that
monetary
this incentive that you're talking about,
Yeah.
what predicts the best incentive, the best drive, and the best
So
creativity
what do you think about
has
Elon
been proven
Musk?
by
What do you think
psychology.
about Elon Musk?
Can we respond to my claim?
This is about incentive,
All right,
though.
awesome. So you're arguing that incentive is intrinsic and tied to extrinsic motivation. What we find is that the best incentive comes from intrinsic motivation.
So a person that's passionate about solving an issue is going to build something bigger than somebody else that's not.
Yeah, so someone who has a true passion for this.
Yeah, so
exactly. So profit motivation is not the thing that's driving innovation,
Of
right?
course
Psychology.
it is. Of course
so
it is.
psychology proves
There-
that that's
if-
not the
if
case.
there's not-
that
if
profit's
there's-
not the reason
if
that we
there's
have
not-
the greatest inventions that we do today.
I don't know if I disagree with the fact that there's a passion behind it. Are you saying people with passion, even if there wasn't the incentive to make as much money as they would make, people would still
That's
pursue
exactly
it
what-
even with or
that's-
without money?
that's what psychology
Well,
says.
your claims are wrong because
not true.
Whoever your psychology professor is,
It's
if
not-
you look at data and you find out how America, that's only been around for 249 years, schooled all the other countries that have been around for hundreds,
Yeah,
if not
I'll tell you
thousands
how.
of years
They
more,
schooled all-
they did better
they
than
sc-
others because the incentive
because they
was
accumulated
free market
profit,
capitalism.
right, to
That's why.
1% of the population
Not
and
necessarily.
continue to produce
Nope,
on that
not
basis.
necessarily. It's
right? We
not-
have this. Okay.
It's
so
not necessarily.
Do we want
When
to
you-
respond because you can say that?
You've been
but the
interrupting the entire time. So if
All right.
you're saying about the 1% are the problem and they're the only ones that make money,
That's
a lot
not
of
what I
people
said.
make money. You said the profit goes to the 1%.
I'm explaining how it is that America has become the dominant power that it is now, right? What we see is that because we have this engine, right, this desire to accumulate profit, we morally justify things like going into other countries, imperializing them, colonizing them, and extracting their resources, right, to funnel our country, right? Social democracies in the Nordic countries don't do this. So yeah, they might not be the wealthiest power, but they have higher rates of education, literacy, human satisfaction, etc. Right? So it depends on what we actually value in a society. Do we value well-being or do we value profit accumulation?
Validates your point. If that's the case, people would move to those states. They don't. When you judge a great restaurant by the amount of people that come in, you can say the food sucks here.
Yeah,
you
so
can say the
there were
service
millions
sucks
of people
here.
that lived
but
in
everybody's
Germany.
lined up to want to come here. They're not lined up to go into
so
those
there are
countries.
there are
They're
millions-
just used by professors as theories.
There were millions of people that also lived in Germany in the 1920s.
I lived in Germany before as well for 2 years.